Welcome, everyone. Before we begin the meeting, we will have a prayer led by Councilman Deacon, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
O Lord, please grant us wisdom in our decisions, understanding of our duties, and patience with those with whom we may disagree. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the Monday, October 3rd, 2022 City Council meeting. This meeting is also available virtually. You can get the link at jeffersoncitymo.gov along with the meeting number and password if you'd like to participate virtually. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call, please.
Deacon.
Present.
Fitzwater.
Present.
Hensley.
Present.
Kimna.
Here.
Lester.
Here.
Schreiber.
Present.
Spencer.
Here.
Spicer.
Present.
Ward. Here. Wiseman.
Present.
Item 4, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda by adding item C, a proclamation for German American Day. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, public hearings, there are none. Item 6, we have no appointments this evening. Item 7, we have presentations from staff consultants. Oh, I'm sorry. I went, wow, that's like that was quick. Miscellaneous agenda items. Let's go down the, I think I saw Susan walk in and I'm about ready to, it's not your turn yet, Susan, sorry. You're the next one. So we have 3 miscellaneous agenda items. We have a Stars and Stripes award that is going to be presented to the city. So we would like to welcome you to the podium tonight. And we are happy to have our presiding commissioner, Sam Bushman, here to present this award to the city. Welcome back, Sam.
I'm gonna have to find another award for next month. I gotta come at least once a month and give you an award because you're so exceptional.
We love having you here.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
This is Jim Martin. Come up here, Jim.
Welcome, Jim.
He is our National Outreach Chair and past president of the Stars and Stripes organization, and he drove all the way up here from Perryville just to present this proclamation.
And because I knew Sam would hang me if I didn't make it up here.
Well,
So,
do you want to
Yep.
explain a little bit about
And if
our
you want to just speak
organization?
into the mic, and that way
Yeah.
those that are listening will be able to hear too. Thank you. Welcome.
now, I represent the Stars and Stripes National Museum and Library, which is the home of the history and heritage of our Stars and Stripes National Military Newspaper, which was founded actually in Bloomfield, Missouri, not New Bloomfield, but Bloomfield down in southeast Missouri in the early days of the Civil War. And it is still in existence. It's still being printed at 14 sites around the world for our servicemen and women who represent us every day on the front lines of protecting our democracy and our beautiful country. So we take it as a heavy responsibility to maintain and celebrate that history and heritage, and particularly to try to encourage an awareness of the importance of informed citizenship, commitment, and service. So that's why I'm here. We actually finished a 7,000-mile trip around the country presenting proclamations to cities. We presented to 33 cities around the country, proclamations celebrating their engagement in their communities of informed citizenship, commitment, and service with their veterans organizations, their civic organizations, their religious organizations, their educational institutions, and of course their business and social service community. So we think it's very important to celebrate this and to recognize those cities that really engage really strongly in this so important effort. So we want to present this proclamation to Jefferson City and to you, Madam Mayor. We actually presented it to Ron here some time ago. I think you were out of the country at the time. So we wanted to drive back up here and present the proclamation to you and your fellow city council persons. So
Thank you for that. And Sam, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm,
Okay.
I kind of forgot about this, but anyway, thank God the Channel 17 mentioned we were going to be here today. So I emailed Jim and I said, you got to come. So
Well, thank you
he-
for making the trip,
Yeah,
Jim.
so-
We appreciate that. Yes, come on forward and we'll get a picture. And does council have any questions? All right, thank you. It's an honor to have this, and we will ask our city council members to come back here, and I'll join you up front for a photo.
to several of the mayors and city councilmen and women who've accepted these proclamations, it's not only an award and a recognition of what you have done, but it's really an encouragement to keep building on what you've done. So we would love to carry on a conversation with you about how we can mutually do more in the future to encourage those partnerships and those efforts that are going to be important to assure a profitable future for us as communities and as a nation. So,
If we gave you a city lapel pin, would you end up wearing that with
Oh.
all your other ones?
yeah, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate
Would
that.
look great with the ones that you have on already. So
And we have received a number of pins from around the country, and yeah, if I wore them all, I'd be. Well, of course,
You were setting that off quite.
yeah, I set it off quite a bit. So thank you very much, you all, and once again, it's an honor to be here with you, and very much appreciate what you're doing in the community.
Well, we appreciate it, and also thank you for making the trip here to Jefferson City to present this, and also for Councilman Fitzwater for your presentation to accept this the first time, and we appreciate the official capacity that you could bring in here to a council meeting. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, you're welcome to. Yes.
Oh, he's doing that. Just so you know, the Stars and Stripes is a military newspaper. So during World War II, they distributed them to the troops on the front lines. It gave them news, it gave them sports, they had cartoons, but gave them a little bit of normalcy and let them know what was happening in the world besides fighting the Germans or the Japanese. But as Jim said, it goes back to the Civil War. But it's still a very good newspaper, and it's a fair newspaper, and our troops still appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to have this award. Thank you. All right, our next item, item B, we have presentation of the Jefferson City HBCU Week proclamation to Lincoln University. We have with us President Dr. Mosley, along with some others. If you would all like to come forward to the podium, we would love to honor you this evening. So welcome, and thank you for coming after a very successful homecoming week. So I will start by reading the proclamation, then we want to hear about homecoming. We also have Octavia, our student representative, and if you would like to also come up with the Lincoln University group, and then we will, of course, talk about this proclamation. So it reads, whereas Historically Black College and University HBCU Week was designated by Governor Mike Parson's signature of SB 718 on June 16, 2022, for the purpose of bringing awareness and deserved recognition to these institutions. And whereas the designation aligns with the 2022 National HBCU Week and the White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity through HBCUs. And whereas Missouri's designated HBCU Week recognizes the importance of the state's 2 HBCUs in providing education opportunities for minority populations, as well as career and technical training for a broad segment of Missourians. And whereas Missouri's 2 HBCUs represent a critical nexus between the past, present, and future of education and empowerment for underrepresented populations, first-generation college students, communities in need of economic opportunities and workforce development. And whereas HBCU Week recognizes these institutions' hard work and dedication to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of an integral part of Missouri's culture and history. Therefore, I, Carrie Turgeon, Mayor of Jefferson City, do hereby proclaim September 19th through 23rd as HBCU Week in Jefferson City. And I hope that we all recognize this and celebrate Lincoln University. So we're happy to have all of you here tonight. And President Mosley, if you want to give us a recap of what, I know you had a successful week, and then you also had homecoming, so tell us about it.
Absolutely. Really quickly, I want to do some introductions. Just left to right, Jeremy Falk is our Chief of Staff. Jeremy joined our staff this summer. Carlos Graham is with us in Government and Community Relations.
He looks familiar.
Yeah, he's been here before. And Dr. Zakiya Brown is our Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. And then you guys have hit a home run here with Octavia joining you as our liaison to the City Council. And I want to publicly say thank you to you for being willing to serve in that capacity. And thanks to the Council for including Lincoln University at your table to hear what's going on at the university. I was fortunate enough to be in D.C. for HBCU Week, myself and Chief Gary Hill on our staff. Learned quite a bit, made quite a few connections, building quite a few relationships in that space. It's really an ecosystem of HBCUs and that we're a part of. We're one of 19 that are land grant, 1890 land grant institutions. And so just working to understand that while we all compete for students, we also play on the same team in the same sandbox to make sure that we provide an educational opportunity for students that may not get them otherwise. At Lincoln University, we are very proud of the students that we have. We're proud of the fact that for the first time in 11 years, enrollment is up. We're proud of the fact that for the first time in 5 years, our first-year student number is up. And so we're confident that many good things are taking place right here in our capital city. From an HBCU space, we understand that, yes, today, even in 2022, there's a need for HBCUs. With the number of black professionals that HBCUs produce in the areas of STEM and law and medicine, many of today's judges started their careers at HBCU. And so we remain relevant in that regard, and we're going to continue to prepare the next generation of students right here at Lincoln University. I want to say a couple of thank yous in regards to homecoming to both of our chiefs. Thank you. I tried to make sure I said thank you to every officer when we crossed the parade route this weekend, those that helped us with traffic control. We understand that this is all a team effort. We're better together. We've constantly said the better Lincoln University is, the better Jefferson City is. And so thank you for the work of your people this weekend. There were a few minor heat instances, or sometimes people 48 years old have too much fun on a Saturday afternoon, and so EMS has to help them get where they need to go. But listen, homecoming was a blast. We've had a ton of positive reviews. Our headquarters was at the Courtyard by Marriott, and the number of folks that came by to say thank you, and the celebrations were peaceful, fun, energetic, and I think it left our alums, they were leaving town with a new spirit and new energy about themselves and about what's taking place at the university. So thank you to all of you. Thanks to the mayor for making an appearance on Friday night. And I apologize for me not being there, but thank you. And I do want to just publicly say, for the record, one of the hardest things of my job is I have to go out and play golf sometimes. And so you caught me coming straight from the golf course. But I have not had a chance to address all of you publicly. to say thank you for your commitment of $500,000 towards our project for the Health and Security Sciences Institute. That project is coming along nicely. We've received a couple other commitments. We're waiting on a couple others. And I am confident that we're going to stand here within 2 years, hopefully, and have construction completed, or at least be near it at that point. But hopefully over the next 12 months, we're in the process of hiring an architect right now to begin that process to see what that would look like totally. And we wouldn't be able to do that without your support. So thank you to the council. Happy to answer any questions, or if not, we're ready to take a picture.
Of course. Does council have any questions or comments? Okay, I know that we had a wonderful homecoming, and I know that that evening I saw Councilman Spicer at the event at the courtyard and welcoming alums. And even the night before they were there coming to town, it was wonderful to greet the alums. I met people from, of course, all around the country, San Antonio, Atlanta, St. Louis, Kansas City, just all over. And for some, I had met some alums who had students here, and it was their first time to visit Jefferson City, and some said what a great city it was, and just how pleasantly surprised at how wonderful. They weren't really expecting the amenities we had, and knowing it was maybe a smaller town, but they also said what a great environment it was for their students to go to, that they could still get that smaller town feel with a great education. And just, I heard so many wonderful compliments. Of course, I talked up Jefferson City. I talked up Lincoln and said, oh, have you heard about our law enforcement training academy, the first of its kind at an HBCU? And they said, we already saw that on the national news. So
right.
People already have heard about that. So keep telling the story, and we will, as a city, do the same. We're happy to make the investment in something that will bring economic growth. We often don't realize, just even an employer, a major employer, that you're one of our top employers in the city as well. So education and employment for so many people, and people who live here and work here. So keep up the great work. And we're thrilled to have Octavia on board. She's done a fabulous job. So her report is coming up later, but after our photo, we may move that up so that she can give the report while the president's in the room. That doesn't get to happen very often. So we may have to shift that around. Anything else from council? Councilman Spencer?
Since the president is here, Octavia, I think you ought to go ahead and ask for your raise now, because she does a wonderful job. So.
She does. We'll give her, she can go through lunch twice tomorrow.
She set the bar high, so.
She's been very good.
That is so true.
Very proud of her.
Well, we're happy to have you here. So if y'all want to come forward, we'll get a picture with our proclamation. All right, well, we are going to go on and do the Lincoln University Student Representative Update number 9. We will have Octavia give her report now while we have our Lincoln University team here. Welcome.
All right. Hello, everyone. As previously stated, Homecoming Week was a success. Lincoln University would like to thank everyone in the community. We appreciate the support and participation from the community for the Homecoming Parade, football game, as well as the other events. On tomorrow, the College of Arts and Sciences will hold a career fair on Tuesday, October 4th, with employers such as Accenture, the FBI, Missouri State Highway Patrol, Mizzou Graduate Programs, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and more. And lastly, Lincoln University has partnered with Talk Campus, a free-to-download app to extend the mental health services available for students. Talk Campus is a peer-to-peer mental health support network connecting students with other students worldwide in a safe space only for students. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any questions for Octavia? So did you have fun at homecoming?
Yes, ma'am, I did. It was a great experience.
Yes. Well, we sure appreciate you connecting us with Lincoln, and we'll look forward to doing that even more in the future. So great report, and thank you all for being here as well. The next item we have is item C. We have German American Day. We have Melva Fast here we are going to present this to you, Melva. And welcome. Yes, you're welcome to come to the podium, and I'll read the proclamation, and then we can share what's going on here for German American heritage. So this reads, whereas the first arrival of German immigrants on American soil was October 6, 1683, and were followed by several millions of later immigrants who contributed to the greatness of the United States. And whereas German Americans compose a significant proportion of the population of Jefferson City, and whereas German Americans have made substantial contributions to every facet of life in Jefferson City, and whereas German Americans continue to be prominent in the life of Jefferson City, therefore I, Carrie Turgeon, Mayor of the City of Jefferson, follow the lead of every president of the United States since 1983 to declare October 6 as German American Day in the City of Jefferson and call on residents to learn about the history of German Americans and reflect on the many contributions they have made to Jefferson City. And we will be celebrating this day officially in Old Munichburg, I believe, later this week or next.
Correct. I believe it may not happen on October the 6th, but it will certainly happen in October. And what we want to do is recently, Old Munichburg funded the arch over by the South School with some dachshunds on it, similar to the one that's on McCarty Street by the Greenway. And we want to dedicate it to the city, through the parks, but also we want to acknowledge Nichols Career Center and their partnership with us in accomplishing this. It's a unique addition to the city, and so we want to combine those two things. And I believe it'll be next week. I just do not have the date yet because we're coordinating also with Nichols so that their students and their families can come as well to acknowledge their accomplishment. So, but anyway, we appreciate the proclamation, and we appreciate all that the city does for us. We just came off an Oktoberfest, and trust me, we could not pull it off without the city cooperation and all that they do for us. So thank you, and you'll be hearing from us soon. And I hope, Mayor Turgeon, that you are available for us on that day.
I would be happy to, and we'll make sure that we email that out to the entire council in case anybody else would like to attend that day as well. And appreciate what Old Munichburg does for our community. And of course, just as I recently returned from a visit to Minchburg, that's in my announcements, but I'll just do that now while you're here, is visiting our partner city. It's my second visit to see our partner city. And we do need to make an official city visit where we have a big group like they've done in the past. It's been several years since we did that. We invited them here for the bicentennial, but they were unable to travel with the pandemic. But now I did invite them back to come for Oktoberfest either next year or the following year. So they're considering that. We would love to have a big group of them visit. As we know, many people from Minchburg came to settle here, and if you haven't seen it in our case right outside, there's a significant amount of items from Minchburg as well. So, but they really know how to celebrate Oktoberfest. I mean, ours was great, but I've never seen anything like Oktoberfest over there in Germany. But I will say our local Oktoberfest was amazing. You all were out there grilling brats all day and had music and dancing and vendors and the Dachshund Derby, and probably one of the biggest crowds I've seen at our Oktoberfest. So great job.
Well, I appreciate that. When the weather is good, the crowds show up, and it was a perfect day. So it was a success for us. Yes, and for anyone, I have gone as well to Germany twice and seen Minchburg. You feel like you're going to visit family. The way they welcome you and show you around and greet you, and it's really quite an experience. So if you have an inclination at all, it would be a thing to plan for.
I would agree completely. They're very hospitable. They love having us there. And I've never seen quite as large of the beer
And it's
mugs
served
and
at every meal.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, literally. Yeah, I've never seen that before, but it's just really fun, and they love it when we're there. But of course, I got to tap the keg here in Jeff City at 10 a.m.
There
on
you go.
Oktoberfest
Yeah.
too. So why not? And I know Councilwoman Ward is very active in the Old Municburg Association. Do you have anything to add today?
No, I got involved more with Old Municipal Association when we moved to the historic South Side in, 2011? And I've on their planning committee for Oktoberfest. It's a lot of work, but we couldn't do it without the city collaboration and also our volunteers and all those in the community that supports us. That is our number one fundraising event, and it helps us to do the landscaping on Dunklin and the new curbs and sidewalks. So much appreciated, all the support we receive.
Wonderful. Well, we'd like to present this to you, so if you want to come forward, and Councilwoman Ward also come down with me, and we'll present this to you. Thank you. Item 6, we have no public hearings tonight. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. We have with us tonight the Capital City Housing Conference presentation, and I believe Susan Cook-Williams will be making that this evening. Welcome. Glad to have you here, along with Angela Hirsch.
Yeah, I got my teammate.
Welcome.
So thank you. So tonight I want to talk to you about an important event that is coming up in Jefferson City. As you know, our city, along with every other city in the entire nation, is dealing with a housing crisis. And we've been dealing with it here in Jefferson City for many years, but when the tornado happened in 2019, the Band-Aid kind of got ripped off. So when the tornado hit, Jefferson City mobilized very quickly, and we started the Long-Term Recovery Committee. And we worked hard to help those residents recover from the tornado. I was asked to chair that housing committee, and so we started meeting regularly about the housing situation in Jefferson City. Then in 2021, Habitat for Humanity got a chance to apply for a grant with the Department of Social Services. Out of that, we created the Capital City Housing Task Force, and members include Habitat for Humanity, RACS, the city, Salvation Army, United Way, a local realtor, Common Ground, Samaritan Center, Building Community Bridges, and many others. So on this month, October 25th, we are going to be holding a housing conference here in town. The all-day conference will be at the Capital West Christian Church Event Center, and it will include a presentation about the city's recent housing study. We have 2 nationally acclaimed speakers who will be talking about housing in our city and solutions to move forward. And we will also have 2 panel discussions that are going to feature business leaders, developers, and citizens. All of that for the low, low cost of $20. So we hope that each of you will register and attend. We need your voices as we start working on solutions to the housing problems in our town. And we've assembled a great program that we think you guys will greatly benefit from. That's it.
Great. Any council questions about the Capital City Housing Conference on October 25th? All right. Well, we will look forward to attending. And
Great.
so in addition to us, if the members of the public want to attend, it looks like there's a QR code on here, and the website. So
Correct.
anyone can just go online and register.
Yep, it's for anybody. There are hardship scholarships available, so we want everybody to be able to come. So if $20 is a hardship for somebody, they just need to fill out a separate form on the website.
Great. Well, I know in your position as Habitat, you've really taken on the whole housing situation well before the tornado, but definitely helped to take the lead on the long-term recovery committee. I know specifically Councilman Scott Spencer has also served on the long-term recovery committee as well, and saw a lot of your housing, working through some of that from the disaster perspective. But
Right.
you've also been working on getting a lot of us together in the community, just looking at housing in general, and many meetings over the last few years like you are touching on. But we certainly want to engage and listen and learn from what you're working on here and give our input.
So many meetings.
I know, there is. There really, really is. So, but it's all worth it, and I think we're making some good progress. And
think so,
I
too.
think after the tornado, we can certainly be a leader if we want to and choose to do so, in how to recover from housing. And it's definitely takes time
It does.
and awareness. Okay, anything else for Susan? All right. And while you're at the podium, also under my announcements, is for tomorrow evening, Habitat is having a fundraiser, a roast and toast. First of its kind, I think.
First of its kind.
So, and I get to be roasted, or grilled, as my dad said. It's like, no, it's roasted, Dad. It's okay. So, so I hope everybody, that should be entertaining. Hopefully I've been nice to all the roasters, and they're only going to say good things.
I told him PG rated.
Right. So I know the event, I believe, is sold out. So,
It's 270 people.
Wow.
But I don't think hardly anybody up there has tickets. So if you still want them, are you coming? Yay. Okay. So if you still, oh, and Mike, you're coming. So if you need a ticket, let me know. I'll squeeze you in somewhere.
awesome. And if you just want to give to Habitat, you can tell your own joke to me on the side and give a check to Susan, right?
Right.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate your efforts for Habitat as well. And why don't you and Angela come up and we'll get a picture with your flyer and promote that out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, be nice to the mayor tomorrow night. Okay. So item 8, we have announcements by mayor, council, and staff. We have our meeting calendar at jeffersoncitymmo.gov. We'll go through our 4 standing committees, starting with administration.
Yes, we have a meeting on Wednesday at 7:30 across the hall.
All right, and finance.
No update tonight, thank you.
And public safety.
Public Safety will meet on Thursday, October 25th, 7:30 a.m. in the police training room.
And public works and planning.
We will meet on Thursday, October 13th, 7:30.
All right, and any other council announcements or other committees? All right, I have a few announcements. Porch Fest was yesterday in the Forest Hill neighborhood, and that was a big success. We appreciate the Parks and Rec team and staff for putting that on. I know they work really hard on that, and it's become a really much anticipated and loved event that you do in the spring and fall. We have Mr. Spalding, the director. Is there anything you want to add on Porch Fest?
No, just the staff loves it and the people love it, and gosh, the weather was beautiful, so that always helps. Yep.
Yes, absolutely perfect. So it keeps growing every year. So thank you for that and for everybody that came. And also National Night Out, even though that has already passed, there's several neighborhoods that are having night outs. In fact, I went to one last weekend And I believe there's another one this week I have on my calendar. I know different neighborhoods are still holding those. So we appreciate Chief Wilde having your officers. I know Officer Hagermeyer was there on site and was able to talk directly with the neighbors, and they could ask him questions, and he gave some wonderful tips on how to stay safe. So we appreciate those neighborhood watch programs throughout the city. So they are still occurring here even this month. So anything to add on that?
No, we just really do appreciate any opportunity to get out and interact in the public and answer questions. So we're always, don't limit it to national night out type events. If you're having a neighborhood watch group or just have a family get together and you want us there, reach out and we'll be there.
Great. We appreciate all your work in keeping our neighborhood safe. And I mentioned Oktoberfest already, but I do want to thank Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Fitzwater for filling in while I was out of the country visiting our partner city in Lynchburg, and for running the last council meeting while I was there. And thank you for that. And I would love for all of council to be able to come when we do our official city visits. So maybe start thinking about that. It would be a wonderful opportunity. They love having us there. So, and also gave me an opportunity to visit my family while I was already in Germany. Greece is just a little plane ride away. So it was nice to get away for that. So thank you for taking care of things in the city while I was gone.
You're welcome.
And the amphitheater, there's been several events and concerts while I was gone. And when I came back, I know the most recent was last Sunday when they had Melissa Etheridge, and Coach Pete Atkins was in attendance and was recognized by Melissa as he was in one of her music videos. And the crowd really went wild when they shined the spotlight on Coach. And if you haven't seen that, it's Breathe is the name of the video, and it's worth seeing Coach Atkins in action in her video. And it was really special to have him recognized. He met with her before the concert that night, and they had not actually met in person. The way they filmed the video, they hadn't met until last Sunday night at the amphitheater. While I was at the amphitheater, again, I met people from all over the state, from hours away, that travel in just to see that artist, and talk very highly of Jefferson City. So again, appreciate the Parks and Rec for what they do that night. I know there's been also a lot of improvements on the streets and roads leading up to it, and certainly is a big draw for our city. A couple other things. The Kiwanis Mayor's Cup, the football cup, should be decided this Friday night. It used to be Jays and Helias. Now we have Capital City in the mix, so now there's 3 schools. So it'll be interesting to see who takes home the Mayor's Football Cup high school this year. Also, the bike ride. We had a community bike ride a couple weeks ago, and we still have one more coming up later this month. So go to JC Parks online on their Facebook page and make sure and participate. We've had some really great opportunities. Also, lastly, the 9/11 stair climb, even though we are past September, is coming up in October, and that is October 22nd. I have on my calendar for that at the Jefferson building. And if you want to register, it's a great fundraiser that goes to the organization that helps fallen firefighters and their families. So if you want to give to somebody who is climbing, that typically brings firefighters from all over the state that come here to Jefferson City to climb the steps in memory of those who died on 9/11, but also good fundraising opportunities. So please help us on that. So a lot of things going on. Does council have anything else that they would like to announce? Any upcoming events? All right, and we've already done our Lincoln University updates, so we'll go on to item 10, presentations from the gallery on specific bills. We don't have anyone signed up. Did we miss anyone who's here tonight to speak on any bills, or anyone online? Okay, seeing none, we will go on to item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Councilman Lester.
So I wanted to make an amendment to the minutes for the September 22nd or 26th. Just wanted to clarify my rationale for the 15% on the safety tax. I think just a statement that point out that the funding for the public safety represented a little more than 15% of public safety operations budget, and that correspondingly 15% of holiday pay should be funded from the public safety tax fund. I think it's unclear currently in the minutes.
Okay, we'll make sure Mrs. Donaldson makes that notation. Councilman Hensley?
Thank you, and on that same point, and I'm not sure Councilman Lester hit this either, but the way we finally approved it, the 15% doesn't relate to Juneteenth. It's an amount equal to 15% of the overall cost of all holiday pay and benefits for all, I believe, 11 city holidays. So it's not specific to any one particular holiday.
Okay, so Mrs. Donaldson, if you need anything further, you reach out and get that information to make those clarifications. So we have a motion to approve with those edits from Councilman Lester and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. And item 12, bills introduced, 2022-66.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning land located in the 1200 block of West Stadium Boulevard from CO Office Commercial and C2 General Commercial to C2 General Commercial and RA2 High Density Residential, and accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of Ridgecrest Subdivision Section 3, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope a few pictures will help make that sound a little simpler. To get started, the parcel that is being subdivided into the final subdivision plat is there in blue. It's across from JCMG. To sort of orient you on the planning side, JCMG is a plan unit development, also with a little commercial office across the street. On the corner of West Stadium, down there where that CO is, that's where that new dental facility is currently being constructed. Up on the corner of West Edgewood is where the new bank facility is there. So the property also is in a rock cut along the street, and above it is that RA property there. So I'd like to make note that that property that is subject of the subdivision plat is down below the RA property there. The rezoning is a cleanup, and the subdivision plat is complementary to that. So what's going on there is a little survey work. What they wanted to do is not have the property line be up here on top of the bluff where there would be future residential development. And so what they did is they're redoing the property line right here, so it is basically on the bluff, so that the people that would ultimately live up here would maintain this, and the people that owned these properties here would not be responsible for maintaining that. That is the gist of the actual subdivision final plat. That's all they're doing, is basically changing some of the property lines. Now what they're doing on the zoning, let me go to the next slide here. Oops. Go back. There we go. So right, can't really see it on the next slide, but this property line is, it's not a property line. Let me go here. Sorry, this is not zoomed in. But basically right here is where the existing property lines are. This is where they will be along the top of the bluff. And this one whole lot is going to go to C2, which is what the other existing lots are along here, even up on the corner, I believe, and this one is CO. So this is the lot that is having all the rezonings done to it. And the subdivision plat is basically just aligning with the bluff wall. The whole subdivision plat's, I think, 4.5 acres. These rezonings are all less than a whole acre. The plan is to be able to support a veterinary clinic. A veterinary clinic can operate in a C2, it cannot operate in a CO, and with all the zoning kind of messed up like that, certainly a property owner would not want that if they're going to be investing money and putting a business in there. There's no new right-of-way acquisition. All the infrastructure is there, except for things that would be done on a final site plan, such as stormwater drainage and things like that. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Molman?
Thanks. Sorry, this one's a little new on my desk, and so I apologize for bringing it up here. Is there an access easement? So if they're making the rock cut face the responsibility of the residential area on top of the rock cut, will those people have the ability to access the rock cut from below, or do they have to rappel down it? I would suggest that if it's not contemplated, that would be made a condition, because otherwise you're going to have something that people are responsible for maintaining but no ability to access it in a reasonable way. I've done that in the past. I'd be happy to share that with PPS staff and the applicants. But I think that's a reasonable addition that should be made, or at least considered.
And I may have misspoke on that. The intent was to clean up some of those issues with this changing of the property lines. Yeah, we certainly could talk about that later.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, 2022-67.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, providing for the voluntary annexation of real property located in the 900 block of Emily Lane, contiguous to the present city limits, into the City of Jefferson, Missouri, and amending Section 1-117 of the Code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, defining the existing city boundary by adding one new subsection pertaining to the same subject.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So to orient you, we're out here on the western part of town, just south of Highway 50 off Old Lowman Road and South Country Club. The property just to the north, here's the subject property. This property here is a new subdivision. It's not a low density, a little bit higher density, a single family residential area. The road coming up to the property is RA1. That is ultimately what the property owner is requesting with their zoning as part of their voluntary annexation. To the south is a little bit more residential, but then you pick up this higher density multifamily RA2. I'd like to explain RA1 allows duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. The RA2 would allow much more higher density, and that is existing, what is leading up to the property. So the city limit line, you really can't see it here, does come down this property line here, and this would create a little donut hole, I believe. But that is the lay of the land, and to the west, you can't really see, but Graves Menu Maker owns this big parcel over here. And with that, let me go to my notes. So a little bit more zoomed in here. What the property owner wishes to do, of course, is have access to his property. They can access their property any other means available to them, and I'm not sure the history of the property, who actually may require some easements or access to them, but they want to tie into the road. The city requires, if you're going to put a house there, you need to finish the street infrastructure and whatnot like that. Right now, the property owner had submitted a plan, a very simple plan that they want to build triplexes on this property. There's be all sorts of limitations. If you notice sort of the line here, there is a draw down and through here. So not only would there be setbacks and buffer yard things, but there would be a requirement to build back off of that. So all of this property is probably not developable. A bulb in here would also take up some of the property. So we do not believe they'd be able to build more than what the land would let them. And we did a little financial analysis in here under fiscal impact, and we just did a model on about, I think, forgot if it's 12 or 18 units, just kind of represent some of the tax give and take between being in the city and not in the city. The maximum density that they can build would be 12 units an acre. It's 3 acres. They're not going to get that many. They're planning on 12 or 18. That's a conceptual plan. It's not beholding to them. That is something that they're planning on doing to justify why they want the zoning. I'd be glad to answer any questions with this. Of course, all the infrastructure would be the responsibility of the developer, and at some point in time, the city would take over maintenance of that. I don't have the numbers on what the maintenance is. I know Public Works has a dollar cost of maintenance operations per mile. The fire chief, I checked with him. He does not believe it would be more than a minimal impact to them. It actually might be beneficial that they could get their equipment around a cul-de-sac as opposed to kind of have to do that. Probably applicable to snowplows and other infrastructure, big vehicle types of trucks. With that, I would be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. 2022-68.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Sam Gaines Construction Incorporated in the amount of $244,195 for the concrete street repair project.
Mr. Seaman?
Thank you, Mayor. This bill would authorize a construction contract with Sam Gaines Construction for concrete street repair. So the locations to be replaced include Edgewood Drive at Fairgrounds Road and Wildwood Drive at Edgewood Drive. Then also a concrete barrier at the Jefferson Street Stadium Boulevard traffic circle. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. And item 13, bills pending, 2022-65.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for Transportation Alternative Program funds.
Mr. Seaman?
Thank you, Mayor. This bill would authorize acceptance of Transportation Alternative Program, or TAP grant, through the Missouri Department of Transportation to construct raised pedestrian crosswalks for the Wares Creek Greenway intersection with Southwest Boulevard and the East Branch Greenway at Lafayette Street. So the state is providing 80% of the funds, and the 20% match from the Jefferson City will be the half-cent capital improvement sales tax.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Deacon?
Aye.
Fitzwater?
Aye.
Hensley?
Aye.
Kimna?
Aye.
Lester?
Aye.
Schreiber?
Aye.
Spencer?
Aye.
Spicer?
Aye.
Ward? Wiseman?
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, informal calendar, the Bill 2252 pertaining to the budget. Councilman Hensley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are going to let that rest on the informal for one more meeting and plan to bring it off for a vote on the 17th.
Okay, any questions or discussion on that? Okay, thank you. We'll leave that on the informal. Item 15, we have no resolutions. Item 16, presentations from the gallery on other topics. We have nobody signed up. Is there anyone here that would wish to speak or online? All right. Item 17, any council and staff discussion of presentation topics? Item 18, new business. We have item A, Capitol Avenue update pertaining to 407 East Capitol Avenue. Mr. Molman.
Thank you. So part of the Capitol Avenue redevelopment project, the city has approved a plan essentially to go through an evaluation of the properties and then make a decision on which properties the city would be making available for potential redevelopment projects and which properties need to be demolished based on the structural components and integrity of the buildings. So those reports are in. I believe they've been all posted on the city website, and reaching out to our list of people who have expressed interest in this project, and I believe we're letting them all know that that those are going to be made available or have been made available. But in the meantime, on Saturday evening on September 24th, the structure at 407 East Capitol suffered a structure fire. Damage appears to be pretty extensive. We have not done any formal assessments, haven't spent any additional resources to do formal assessments, but the damage is pretty extensive. Lots of places where the wood that is making up the at least back part of the structure are extensively damaged, and we have some series of pictures that's attached to the memo that is in the packet. And so generally when this type of thing will happen, we have to make a determination. Does the building need to come down? What we call a summary demolition. Essentially, the city brings down the building without any type of process, a hearing, and then we do a post-deprivation hearing to determine whether or not that was a reasonable exercise of the city's police powers. In situations where it's not a summary demolition, we would either require the property owner to secure the building, or if they're unwilling or unable to do that, the city would do it with city funds, and we put a tax lien on it. This is probably, staff has talked about, this is probably right on the border of what we may do for a summary demolition. The damage seemed to be that extensive that we would, if we were in a typical situation, we would have to think long and hard about whether or not we would just go in and knock the thing down to prevent any further danger to the public and to our public safety officers and code enforcement staff. But because it is in the Capitol Avenue area, and we had a city council meeting that was within a reasonable amount of time after the event, we wanted to bring this to the city council to make a decision on whether or not the city council would like to get this thing demolished, or whether or not the city council wants city staff to expend some additional funds to get the property secured. Mr. Helmick is here, can kind of describe what that would entail, but the Cliff's notes of that is boarding up the property and fencing it off, making sure, trying to mitigate the opportunities for further break-ins and further deterioration of that building. The one kind of real interesting thing that Dave explained to me is that we would actually have to build some frames around the openings in order to then put up plywood to not access it, or to help prevent access. So this was, I would say, not outside the realm of what we've seen for closure of building, but probably on the higher end of what it would take to secure a building. And so we did not want to expend those resources without the city council telling us to do that, because it's definitely a sensitive situation, something we'll be dealing with for better part of this year, and so we think it was appropriate to bring that to the city council to give us direction on how to handle this particular structure. If nothing had happened, we would go through the structural assessment process, which the engineers will be here next week, or in 2 weeks, to make that presentation, answer any questions, and then we would, council would have a determination on whether or not to open it up for the call for interested parties process. But because it is suffered this structure fire, the structural assessment for 407 is probably, that's obsolete information, and the costs to repair are probably significantly higher. But like I said, we haven't done any formal assessments. We haven't expended the resources to do that. So we lay this in front of the city council for guidance on how we should proceed with this building. Our demolition contractor, who we already have a contract, in the event that the city council were to make a decision to demolish any one of these properties up on Capitol Avenue, is in town and mobilized. They've indicated if the city council were to make a decision tonight to demolish, that they would be able to start that work this week. Probably no later than Wednesday or Thursday. Probably have the whole thing wrapped up by next week. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Mr. Mahelmick, who had I believe, the pleasure of snapping some of these photos and having firsthand accounts of what the building kind of currently exists in, is here to help answer any questions and make this tough decision.
Thank you. Mr. Helmick?
And I just want to clarify, this building had gone through the dangerous building process prior to the fire. So we've already had the hearing with the owner of the property. The property was a hoarding situation, as well as the back wall was structurally compromised prior to the fire. So we did go through the entire process for a dangerous building. This is a new instance that actually has happened since then that's made it more dangerous. So that's why we're moving up the time frame, or asking to move up the time frame, is because of the new conditions. But it has gone through the entire process.
Thank you, Mr. Helming. I know that this situation is extremely frustrating, disappointing, the danger associated with it, knowing that our public safety personnel are required to respond to such an incident and a fire. It is just appalling that a lot of these properties, unfortunately in this case, owned by Barbara Busher, that she has allowed them to get into the state that they're in right now, which is precisely why our city council has been so proactive in going through this process to move them into other potential developers' hands or other situations. So I often get asked why, and the city goes through the process. As you know firsthand, Mr. Helmig, those properties are often needing to be secured, and you are on site frequently. It takes a lot of our staff time and effort, and I am consistently signing tax bills for work that the city is doing to secure those properties. So we are going through every allowable way and procedure that we can that's allowed to us by the law. And I'm very thankful that council has taken this as a priority to go beyond that and work through the legal process for the acquisition through eminent domain, but in this case being the dangerous buildings, getting the structural assessments so that we can finally get these out of the situation they're in, because we saw Saturday night what can happen, and it can be very extremely unfortunate situations. So I am thankful for our public safety personnel and thankful that they are okay, along with code enforcement that is dealing with those properties on a continual basis. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion and potentially a motion. I see Councilman Spencer first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and start the summary process and tear down this building. I personally took a look at it on Sunday evening, and just my estimation is that it's beyond significant repair. So I appreciate the efforts of the fire department making a very good stop, keeping it to the room of origin, and I think they did a good job. I don't want to put them at any further risk of having these kinds of residences have a tendency to have a reignite, if you will. People still will go back in these facilities, and even though they're badly damaged, and I just don't think we could put our public safety at risk or the public at further risk. So I'd make a motion that we start this process of tearing down this building.
So there's a motion. Is there a second? Further discussion? Councilman Fitzwater?
Yes, I had a couple of questions just to get a response from public safety. How was it when you went to the building? I mean, obviously it was on fire, but did you feel at risk, or were you able to get it under control fairly rapidly? Because that's fairly tight quarters. That house, at least on this would be the east side, there's not much space there. It's obviously a lot on the other side.
As with any structure we arrive to, whether it be one of those particular or any other house, our initial officer and then the assistant chief that arrives on the scene will do a safety analysis from the very beginning. And at the time that the incident commander arrived, felt that it was safe enough to at least make an attack on the fire from the outside and not initially go in. So yes, there is significant hazard, and always is in a building like that we don't truly know the interior conditions, especially when it's marked as dangerous from the start. But yes, they do create a continual hazard for our members, but I also trust our members to make the decision of whether it's safe for them to do stuff even in that tight quarters. The case of the building is now, it now just amps that up a whole bunch more because there already is significant fire damage on top of the dangerous structure designation. So at this time, my full expectation, if anybody would arrive, is they would just ensure that the building next door didn't burn down and then try to contain it to that area. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a general idea of what you found when you got on scene. Have we had any expressed interest in that property? I mean, I know we've got a lot of process to go through, but has anybody said, hey, by the way, because we tried to make a commitment that we would do the best we could to allow these buildings to survive if it was possible, but has anybody indicated the interest in that one?
I'm looking over at PPS staff. They're kind of the gatekeepers of the list of people. My office hasn't. We have received some inquiries, but not about that one in particular.
If I may, I've talked to several people, and I don't recall that particular property anybody had a major interest in or any minor interest in. But we do have a list of people that, we've been asking, hey, send us your name, your email. We do have a constant contact database going. but I don't know of anybody, and we can ask Rachel to nod her head, yes or no, if she's heard of anybody.
No one specifically has requested that property as a standalone, but as far as like the block, there's been a few that have been interested in the 400 block.
Well, I agree with Councilman Spencer. I went over there and walked around it. I mean, it's in horrible shape. But obviously, there have been things that have been revived, but I'm not sure that one is revivable. So, I mean, I did second the motion. I mean, I think we have tried to do everything that we committed to do, which was try to keep any viable property available. But, I mean, I think recommendation from our professional staff is that we move forward with the recommended motion, and I will support that.
Thank you. Mr. Helming, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to also state that the dollar amount that was on the Allstate reports that you may have seen for this property was just for the upstairs level. Squatters had barricaded the front door and windows, and so they were unable to make access into the main living area on the first floor. So while that was a lower amount to rehab that building, the $130,000 was just to make the upstairs livable again. It didn't include the main floor. So in looking at that, it would be significantly more, and of course that was prior to the fire. We've had 11 resecures there since the property's been vacant, and issues with them barricading doors and other issues in that neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Helmig. And had someone been living there, it would have been disastrous. And it wasn't that long ago that people were. And that's why the city is going through this process to remove tenants and residents from there. And in this case, the property owner, Barbara Busher, continues to destroy Capitol Avenue and destroying our city through these properties. And it's uncalled for. And I know we're taking action to the fullest extent that we possibly can in the situation. So when I received notification that this fire had happened, my first, and I know all of our first thoughts were with our first responders, with our firefighters that were having to respond to such a situation. So thankful that they're okay and for their safety, but also thankful that we're going through this process and that at our next council meeting, we'll have this opportunity to actually move forward on hopefully making opportunities available to get these situations, properties out of the spot that they're in. So we have a motion and second. Further discussion. Councilwoman Ward.
Regarding the point of origin, there's an addition on the back of this home that's a frame addition with a looks like a brick laminate. Is that where the point of origin was of this fire, and is that where you mentioned it was contained? Was it contained to this area, like the picture where you see the black charred room? Is that this addition on the back of the building?
So the kitchen area, which is part of that addition, is where it's suspected that it started, the origin. It did spread into the area on the left-hand side, which is on the opposite side of that brick wall that you're referring to, and did burn up through the upstairs floor. So when you're upstairs, you can look down into the main part of the building. Due to the amount of hoarding and material in there, it's all water and smoke damaged as well. And you can't see the floor because there's anywhere from 3 to 4 foot of hoarded material covering it. So it was, the worst part was that addition, but it did spread into the main structure as well.
Okay, because with a historic restoration, that back addition would probably be demoed off anyway. I mean, it might be an early addition, but so, I mean, I was just hoping that maybe we could do a partial demo to take care of removing this really dangerous room on the back end and then boarding up that doorway that has the brick arch, the main house. But if it went up through the floor joist, yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fitzwater?
I was just going to make one more comment just to commend the fire department. I mean, I did walk through. There was a lot of cardboard and seems like combustible items in that property. So how you got that fire shut down so quickly amazing the whole thing didn't go up, so nice work.
Thank you. Please thank your team for that and pass on these comments.
Because I looked at it last Sunday, and it wasn't smoldering, so, you know, a lot of times they kick back up, and you just have to keep on wetting them down, but it was, I appreciate it too. Thank you.
I hate to disagree with the councilwoman, but we try not to go back to fires in Jefferson City. So I know you may see that in other towns, but we really strive to put them out the first time.
I know. I recall one on West Main about 18 years ago where it just kept on and kept on, so, in the attic.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer. Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Deacon.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 19, any unfinished business? Item 20.
I move to adjourn.
And second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Say hi or aye, whatever. All right, everybody have a great evening. Thank you.